In the movies, the Palantir is portrayed as a trap. It is an evil wizard phone, a direct line to Sauron that instantly corrupts, possesses, or tortures anyone foolish enough to touch it. When we see Pippin endure his agony, or Saruman fall into servitude, the message seems clear. Don't touch the glowing orb. But this movie lie obscures the deep, tragic mechanics of Tolkien's world. In the books, the stones aren't evil. They are not cursed artifacts found in a dark pit. They are high technology. They were the pinnacle of Númenórean craftsmanship, forged in the undying lands by Fëanor himself. They were designed not to enslave minds, but to coordinate a realm too vast for messengers. They were neutral, powerful, and necessary. The true conflict of the Seeing Stones isn't about magical resistance. It isn't a contest of screaming and lightning. It is a contest of jurisdiction. Today, we are going to fix the record. We are going to look at why Denethor, a man of iron will, was broken by the stone, why Saruman was enslaved by it, and why Aragorn masterfully bent it to his purpose. It wasn't just because Aragorn was brave. It was because the others were stewards or usurpers, and he alone held the admin rights. To understand this, we first have to understand what the Palantiri actually are, because the movies gloss over their divine origin. These stones were not made by Sauron. They were made by the Noldor elves in Eldamar, likely by Fëanor, the creator of the Silmarils. They are not just crystal balls. They are holy objects, forged in the undying lands. This is crucial. The stones are incapable of deception. They cannot show false images. They are truth tellers. When you look into a Palantir, you are seeing reality. The danger does not come from the hardware. It comes from who else is on the network. And this brings us to the first tragedy, Saruman the White. Saruman believed that his great intellect would allow him to navigate the stones safely. He treated it like a tool to be mastered by skill. But he forgot that the stones answered to authority, not intelligence. When Saruman looked into the Orthanc stone, he was an unauthorized user. He had no legal right to it. As a result, when he encountered Sauron, he had no shield. He was ensnared not because he was weak, but because he was technically an intruder on a network that Sauron had already seized. Saruman's pride told him his wisdom made him immune. But the stone doesn't care about wisdom, only ownership. Contrast this with the encounter that happens off-screen in the movies, but stands as the pivotal moment of the book. After recovering the Orthanc stone from the wreckage of Isengard, Aragorn doesn't hide it. He takes it into a quiet, high room at the Hornburg. He dismisses his guards, and he consciously decides to confront the Dark Lord. Most assume Aragorn survived this because he has protagonist armor or because he is inherently good. But Tolkien is more legalistic than that. The Palantiri were given to the faithful of Númenor, specifically to the House of Elendil. They are the personal, heritable property of the High King of Gondor and Arnor. When Sauron looks into the Ithil stone, the stone captured from Minas Ithil, he is essentially a squatter. He is a hacker who stole a terminal. He has immense power, yes, but he has no standing within the software of the stones. He does not own the network. Aragorn enters this mental battlefield not as an intruder like Saruman, but as the system administrator logging back in after a 3,000-year absence. Listen to how Aragorn describes the encounter in the text. He is not terrified, he is resolute. He says, "I am the lawful master of the stone, and I had both the right and the strength to use it." The struggle was long and hard. The eye is a mocking thing, but I was too strong for him. This was not a casual glance. Tolkien describes Aragorn emerging from the room, looking as if he had aged years in a single hour. It was a brutal, metaphysical wrestling match. But the key is that Aragorn didn't just endure Sauron's gaze. He hijacked the feed. This is the mechanic the movies missed. Aragorn rotated the camera. Sauron tried to force Aragorn to stare at his power, at the Barad-dûr, at the overwhelming might of Mordor. This is how he broke Saruman, by fixating his vision on despair. But Aragorn, asserting his ownership, wrested control of the vision. He forced the stone to look away from Mordor. He commanded it to look south, to reveal the Corsair fleets threatening the coasts of Gondor. Think about the implications of that. Aragorn revoked Sauron's permissions on his own device. He forced the interface to look where the king commanded, not where the enemy wanted. He gathered the intel he needed to win the Battle of the Pelennor Fields. He didn't ask the stone to work. He commanded it to obey its master. It was a victory of legal authority over brute force. This brings us to the tragedy of Denethor. Pop culture has done this character a dirty service, reducing him to a tomato-eating, incompetent villain. But the Denethor of the books was a man of high Númenórean blood. He was wise, capable, and terrifyingly strong. Gandalf himself says that Denethor is far more powerful than Theoden. We must understand. Denethor possessed the Anor Stone, the Stone of Minas Tirith, legitimately. As the ruling steward, he had the right to use it to defend Gondor. He was not a thief like Sauron, nor a meddler like Saruman. He was an authorized user, but he was not the king. He had the right to look, but not the power to command. This distinction is what killed him. Because he was a lawful user, he could engage with the stone without being instantly enslaved. He actually battled Sauron through the stone for decades. Let that sink in. Saruman, a literal angelic being, was corrupted almost immediately. Denethor, a mortal man, held out for years, staring into the mind of a god, and he never turned traitor. He never offered to serve Sauron. He remained loyal to Gondor until the very end. His failure wasn't moral weakness. It was an information failure. Because Denethor lacked the supreme authority to completely dominate the stone, he was trapped in Sauron's algorithm. Sauron could not make the stone lie. He couldn't show Denethor fake orcs, but Sauron could control the context. He controlled the editorial process. If 1,000 men were rallying to help Gondor from the north, and 10,000 orcs were marching to destroy it from the east, Sauron forced the stone to zoom in exclusively on the orcs. He showed Denethor the truth, but only the parts of the truth that would cause despair. This is the key contrast. Aragorn turned the Orthanc stone south and saw the Corsairs, but he also saw the means to stop them. Denethor, looking through his own stone in Minas Tirith, saw the exact same ships, but without the authority to see who commanded them. Denethor missed the one detail that would have given him hope, that the man commanding those ships wasn't an enemy. It was Aragorn, the king, returning home with the army of the dead, or the Grey Company in the books. Denethor died of despair because he saw the truth, but he lacked the authority to see the whole picture. He was a brave man, destroyed by a tool he had the right to hold, but not the rank to master. And this is why Aragorn's use of the Palantir is the strategic turning point of the War of the Ring. It was his first true act of kingship. In the movies, Aragorn accepts his heritage slowly, almost reluctantly. In the books, taking the stone was the moment he crossed the Rubicon. He knew that by revealing himself to Sauron, by showing him the sword reforged, he was painting a target on his own back. You see, Sauron is distinctly paranoid. He knows he is a usurper. When he saw an heir of Elendil mastering the stone, he didn't just see a rival general, he saw a terrifying threat. He thought Aragorn had the One Ring. Why else would a mere man dare to challenge him via the stone? Only someone possessing the ring would have the arrogance to taunt the Dark Lord in his own network. Aragorn knew this. He used his admin rights to bait the trap. He deliberately revealed himself to the enemy to draw the eye away from Frodo. The result was catastrophic for Sauron. Because of this confrontation, Sauron panicked. He launched his attack on Minas Tirith prematurely. He struck before his plans were fully laid, in a desperate, hasty stroke to crush this new rival before Aragorn could consolidate power. This haste is what allowed the Rohirrim to arrive in time. If Sauron had waited a week, Rohan would have been cut off. This haste is what emptied Mordor of its guards to fuel the assault, clearing the path for two small hobbits to reach Mount Doom. The Palantir was not a trap for Aragorn. It was his weapon. The contrast between these three figures, Saruman, Denethor, and Aragorn, reveals the core philosophy of Tolkien's world. Saruman sought power through knowledge and lost. Denethor sought safety through vigilance and lost. Aragorn sought nothing but to fulfill his duty, relying on his rightful identity, and he won. Denethor serves as the tragic reflection, a man who tried to carry the weight of the world without the authority to manage it. He is a warning that willpower alone is not enough against evil. You need the right standing. But Aragorn shows us what kingship actually means in Tolkien's Legendarium. It isn't just about swinging a sword or giving inspiring speeches. It is about spiritual authority. It is about the legal and metaphysical right to say to the darkness, "You do not belong here. This channel is mine." Aragorn didn't just survive the stone. He evicted the squatter. He blinded the eye. And in doing so, he saved the world. So, when we look back at the lore, we must stop seeing the Palantir as a foolish mistake. It was the king's sword, just as much as Andúril was. I want to hear from you in the comments. When it comes to Aragorn, do you prefer the movie version, the reluctant hero who has to be pushed into accepting the throne? Or do you prefer this book version, the man who walks into the room, picks up the phone to Mordor, and tells Sauron to get off his line? Let me know which king you would rather follow.